In today's class, you will learn how to derive transfer functions of large systems from block diagrams or from signal program. So one way to derive transfer function is by using the matrix inversion approach that I have shown in the last class. But you cannot actually invert large matrices symbolically. Even software will find it difficult to invert large symbolic matrices. So I will show you the simplest case how we get the transfer function by inverting matrices. So let's say we have the simplest spring mass damper system for which we already know the transfer function. Let's say we have a velocity sensor and we know the transfer function should turn out to be S by ms square plus rs plus k is expected. So if we write this one's model in state space form, then we will get P, one momentum, and Q, one spring state. I am not assigning any subscript to P and Q because there is only one momentum and one displacement state. So this will be minus R by M minus K. This will be 1 by M. This will be 0. This. So this is d by dt EQ plus B matrix will be 0. We have FT. That is our source of effort. And we will have one output, some flow. That will be 1 by M 0 PQ plus D matrix is 0 for this case, FT. So we have our A, B, C, and D matrices. So we know our transfer function matrix because this is a SISO system, single input, single output system. We will get one transfer function. So our GS be a matrix is C times SI minus A inverse B plus D. So we put there 1 by M 0 SI minus A. So this will be S. SI has two diagonal terms, S and S, other things are 0 and minus A. So whatever are A, those will be appearing as plus here. Plus R by M. Here it was 0, so 0 minus K will be plus K. This will be 0 minus 1 by M is 1 minus 1 by M. Here S minus 0, SI term gives S, and here S minus 0, that is S. This matrix inverse times B. Let's keep it as it is. 1, 0 plus D is 0. This is what it is. So we have 1 by M 0. This one we will take inverse, very simple one. So adjoint matrix is straightforward. In fact, I don't need all terms of adjoint matrix because if you see from this, the first this item will be there, so we will require first column only, first row only, okay, because other things, this k will be multiplied with 0, okay, s will be multiplied with 0, so first column is required. And again, when we multiply with this, okay, we will only get this term is required, otherwise other terms are not required, they will vanish. So for this adjoint is s. So you have s, here something doesn't matter, divided by the determinant. Determinant is s. So this is ms plus r plus k by m, ms plus r by, let's say, ms plus r, okay, ms plus r into s by m plus k by m. That is our determinant, and again 1 0 plus 0. So this turns out to be 1 by ms s by m divided by this whole thing. So this is ms square plus rs plus k divided by m, which cancels, s by ms square plus rs plus k. So that's perfectly fine. What we expected, that we got. But you understand, if we have, let's say, 5 cross 5 matrix and we have to take inverse like this, it's going to be a big problem. So this is not correct way. So what we will do is we will derive transfer function from signal program. Or SFG. So there are set of rules to derive transfer functions from signal program. I will take one example which will almost cover everything. So you will learn how to derive transfer function by using that example. So this example also I am using various times. It was also there in your assignment. So let's say we have a source, some voltage source. This is a controlled source. Controlled voltage, so be time varying. There is some resistance RA, and with that we drive a DC motor. This motor constant is mu m. Then we have a short shaft. So if the shaft is short, we can assume it to be rigid. If the shaft is long and if it is hollow, especially long and hollow shafts, we will have a lot of torsional, very low torsional stiffness. We have to consider its torsional stiffness and damping. But for rigid and very small shafts and solid shafts, we can in fact assume that to be rigid. So we have a disc. Let's say the radius is r. Its rotary inertia is Jd. From this, let there be a rope hanging. K and R. Then there is a mass hanging. Gravity acts downwards. Here is a position sensor. Sun is measured. This is plus. This is some kind of reference position. Sorry, this is minus. This is minus. This is reference. That means we have to move this mass to certain reference position. So we measure current position, compare it with the reference position. The error, this error then goes to a controller. This controller then actuates a PWM, pulse width modulator, which gives some pulse voltage output. So depending on the duty cycle, you will get the average velocity, average voltage, and this is what changes this thing. So this is our total control system, and we have to derive open loop transfer function. So we understand derive open loop transfer function. Note that here it is a position. Let's say I add another sensor here. Let's say there is a laser tachometer, which measures angular velocity. So there are two sensors. There is a control source, and this is our system. Its band graph model is very easy. Open loop system, you have drawn it several times. So I will draw its band graph model. I will draw it here so that we can refer to this. Source of effort, one junction, R is to RA. Then you have gyrator, that is mu motor. Then you have one theta dot, that is the angular velocity. This is current. This is voltage. I is rotary inertia of the disc. Then a transformer, that is radius of that pulley. Then a zero junction, where we model our spring and damper. This is rope. Then we have mass. This is the hanging mass. Its weight. And two sensors. Here we are measuring flow, DF, or effort activated flow activated C. Here I am measuring flow. We will integrate it to get position. So two sensors. So that is our model. We will give some bond numbers to that as usual. So as you draw block diagram, similarly you will pre-process this one or derive equations similar way. So give some numbers. Let's call this 1, 2, 3 here. 1, 2, 3. Let this be 4. Let this be 5. This be 6. I am not giving these sensors numbers because once we draw block diagram, we can take out any output from that block diagram or signal flow graph. So I am not including sensors in my signal flow graph model. I will include those afterwards. So I am not unnecessarily creating more bonds. So we have 6, then 7, let's say. Let this be 8. Let the spring be 9. this be 10, this be 11, this be 12, and this be 13. So these are our bond numbers arbitrarily given. We assign causality. Some people are deriving equations without causality. That is wrong. You will not actually get the proper equations which are solvable. If you put that equation into computer, it will not solve. It will say something is unknown. So we start with source of effort. Nothing
You said
happens.
you are
This
measuring
source of
position.
effort. Nothing happens. Start with one of the I elements. This. Then this comes here. This comes here. This sensor is useless. Once that gyrator comes here, this comes here. Then this resistance comes here. This transformer comes here. Then we cannot propagate. Give another I. This comes here. This comes here. Zero junction 2 are away, strong bond. Then this becomes one junction strong bond. This. So we have prepared our model and assigned it causality, just like we do it before drawing the block diagram. Note that we have completely removed the reference, that comparator, the controller, whatever pulse width modulator and all those things, those are part of the control loop. When we derive open loop transfer function, we don't care about the control loop. We will remove that. Control loop can be established afterwards. So we will only refer to this model. We don't need that system now. We will draw our signal flow graph by using this particular bond graph model. So I will keep this slightly up. So what is the color of my this thing? It's red. Okay. All right. So first step to draw signal flow graph is to introduce all effort and flow nodes. So we will start with effort nodes at top, flow nodes at bottom. You can change them. It's not mandatory that they will be at top and bottom. You can choose the way you want to write them. So I will put effort nodes. At one junction, 1, 2, 3, flows are equal, efforts are different. At one junction, flows are equal, efforts are different. So I will introduce a common flow node for 1, 2, 3 and 3 effort nodes E1, E2 and E3. So I will introduce a node E1. I have to put a dot. I am not putting. I am straight writing that wherever E1, E2, E3 are written, that those are the nodes. Then we have a node. You can put a node if required. It's not required that you put some dot there. And we have a node here, F1, 2, 3. All flows are same. F1, 2, 3. So that is done. Now for the next one junction, F4, 5, 6 are same, but efforts are different. So we introduced E4, E5. No need to put that dot, so I am not putting. E6, flows are same. F4, 5, 6. So wherever those efforts are there, I am putting flows below that, nearly below that. Then we have a zero junction, E7, 8, 11. Effort 7, 8 and 11 are same. So I will put a node. Efforts 7, 8 and 11 are same at a zero junction. Flows are different. So flow 7, flow 8 and flow 11 will be different. Flow 7, flow 8 and flow 11 will be different. So you put a node. flow 7, flow 11. Again, flow 8, because bond number 8 is connected to one junction at 9 and 10, 8, 9, 10. So flow 8 is same as flow 9 and flow 10. So I will write flow 8, 9, 10. So at that one junction, 8, 9, 10, flow 8, 9, 10 are same, but efforts are different. So there is one E8, we will have one E9, we will have another E10. Likewise, at one junction 11, 12, 13, flows are same. So we will write F 11, 12, 13, and efforts are different. So I will put E12. E11 is already there. So I will not repeat it. E7, 8, 11 is already there. So only E12 and E13. E13. So these are the nodes created. Is it clear to everybody how these nodes are created? Somebody answer.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
It's clear? Okay. Let me see how many people are there. Okay. So once these nodes are created, we will take each element individually and each junction we will write down their relations. So let's take one junction at 1, 2, 3. One junction at 1, 2, 3. So what do we know? Strong law is flow 1 is equal to flow 2 is equal to flow 3, which is already put by a common node F1, 2, 3. So there is nothing to write there. So what we have is the weak law, which says the strong bond at one junction is bond number 2. So E2 is E1 minus E3. E2 is E1 minus E3. You cannot randomly like E3 is equal to E1 minus E2 or E1 is equal to E2 plus E3. If you do like that, your transfer function will be wrong. So as per causality, we will get E2 is equal to E1 minus E3. So E2, we will draw a line. E2 into plus 1, so we don't write that plus. E3. So E2 is output. E2 is computed from E1 and E3. So E2 arrow will be towards E2. And gain here is minus 1. So E2 is E1 minus E3. That's the picture. Also, we can write constitutive relation. E1 is same as source of effort B, which we can straightforward introduce a node, that is input US. US is E1. That is our input. Also, the next element is R2, and that is in conductive causality. So R2 receives effort and gives flow. So we will have a output is flow from R2. So we will have input is effort. Effort is used to calculate flow, E2 to F2. And that relation gain is 1 by RA. So E2 divided by RA is F2. So that's how this is shown in the picture. Now we will move to the gyrator 3 and 4. In the given causality, the gyrator input from both sides to the gyrator is flow is input, and gyrator gives effort outputs. So gyrator's outputs are E3 and E4. Input to gyrator are F3 and F4. So then the relation is E3 is mu m times F4. E3 is mu m times F4 and E4 is mu m times F3. So E4 is mu m times F3. E4 is mu m times F3. Again is mu m. E3 is mu m times F4. So that relation is put. So that gyrator is complete. Now we will move to one junction 4, 5, 6. Here the strong bond is bond number 5. Strong bond is bond number 5. The relation flows are equal, already put, and the strong bond is bond number 5. So we will write equation for E5. E5 is E4 minus E6. E5 is E4 minus E6. So E5, all arrows will be towards E5. It is the strong bond. So E5 is E4, minus 1 is gain here, E4 minus E6. Then we have this I element attached there. And as we know, for I element in block diagram, if it is a I element with integral causality, we put a gain first, we integrate to get momentum. That integration becomes 1 by S in Laplace domain. Then we put a gain 1 by mass. So total gain is 1 by ms. 1 by ms. M here is ZD. M here is ZD. So effort goes there, flow is calculated, effort is integrated. So effort integration means 1 by S and again divided by ZD. So 1 by JDS. So it's very normal. Whenever you find a mass in integral causality, 1 by ms. That's the gain.
It should be from E5.
Yes.
E5 to F456.
Maybe my volume is less. Let me just adjust my volume. Yes. What is the problem?
Sir, the arrow should be from E5 to
E5.
F4.
Oh, 5, yes, not E6. Yes, you are right. Thank you. It's from 5. E5 to F5. 1 by ZDS. Now we come to transformer. So this transformer, flow 6 is input, flow 7 is output. So flow 6 is input, flow 7 is output, scaling ratio is R. And the reverse relation is effort 7 is input, effort 6 is output. So effort 7 to effort 6, the gain is again R. So you will see if mu m appears, both the places it will be mu m. You cannot have one place mu m and other place 1 by mu m. Likewise, if R appears, both places it will be R. Okay, not 1 by R one place and other place R. So this is done. Then we go to that zero junction. Now at the zero junction, efforts are same. E7, 8, 11 are same. That is already put. We will have a algebra of flows. So here strong bond is bond number 8. So we have to calculate F8. So F8 will be calculated. F8 is F7 minus F11. So F8 is F7 minus F11. So F8 is calculated. Now there are no elements attached there, so nothing to do. We move to one of the one junction. Let's say 8, 9, 10. At one junction 8, 9, 10, flows are equal, which is already put. Now we have a strong bond, that is bond number 8. So effort in bond number 8 as per power directions is E9 plus E10. So E8 is E9 plus E10. You can draw it any side. Let me draw it this side. E9 plus E10. When it is plus, you don't put anything. Okay. When it is minus, you put a -1. So this is done. Then there are two elements there. R10. So R10 is in resistive causality. To the R element, input is flow, output is effort. Input is flow, output is effort. So E10 is F10 times R. So we will write E10 is R times F10. And at bond number 9, what do we have? That is a spring. Flow 9 is input, effort 9 is output. So how do we calculate that effort? We integrate that flow and multiply with stiffness. So that integration becomes 1 by S, and multiply with stiffness, it becomes K by S. So flow 9 to E9, the gain is K by S. So that means equivalent to an integrator and a stiffness. This gain is K by S. Then we have the last junction. Their strong bond is bond number 12. Flows are equal, already put. So we have F11, F12 is F11, sorry, E12 is E11 plus E13. E12 is E11 from here. Plus E13. And E13 is something which is constant. E13 is constant, is Laplace transform is mg by s. Constant Laplace transform is 1 by s. Unit step. However, note that for AC is to B, we put US. But for AC is to minus mg, we are not putting it as US because this is not a control source. This is not a control source. It's a source, but it's not a controlled source. So anything that is not a control source, that doesn't contribute to our transfer function. That is basically useless. We will assume that system has come to equilibrium with that whatever external loading is there, and then we are studying that dynamics. So that control source, although we are putting it in signal flow graph, you will see it doesn't contribute to the transfer function. Means the constant source or whatever external force is there. So now we have E12 for the mass element. Integral causality, we straight know. Yes. Yes.
Sir, but this source of effort will come in the U matrix, right? So will it not have a problem when we calculate SI minus A inversion, like all that from the matrix point of view?
I didn't understand.
Sir, this source of effort, which is a constant, will be a part of the U matrix, right? The input matrix in the state space equation. So will that not cause a problem?
I am not listening very clearly. Input weight. Oh, input weight. Yes, that input weight is constant. Okay, that input weight, okay, is constant. So because that is constant, it will produce a constant moment. Okay, constant moment on the disk. Okay, and that constant moment can be balanced by a constant voltage. All right. Okay. So if you have a constant moment, that can be balanced by a constant input voltage. The rest of the control part will be over that constant input voltage. All right. So this control signal will have a DC part. That DC part will balance that AC is to minus mg, and then the fluctuations will be controlled. All right. So that will come. That will come. That constant part will come, but that will not be coming in the transfer function. That will be automatically coming while you are controlling by a means whatever constant you give, that will be means given by a constant input. So some constant input will balance that constant load, and then the fluctuations will be addressed by this controller. So if you try to lift it up, what will happen? This rope will oscillate. If you have, let's say, it will. We are considering only vertical dynamics. If you are considered lateral dynamics, maybe some crane is lifting some object and that object swings and hits somebody. That is dangerous. So that part of the dynamics will be controlled by this controller. Rest of the things, DC part will be given as a constant voltage. Okay, so what we needed, 1 by ms. So it's straightforward. For any mass appearing in integral causality, it is 1 by ms. For any stiffness appearing in integral causality, it is k by s. For R elements appearing in resistive causality, it will be flow to effort gain R. In conductive causality, it will be effort to flow gain 1 by R. So we have some outputs. Where are our outputs? There is a, we want measurement of flow at junction 4, 5, 6. That is angular velocity. So from here, I will take a output. Let's call it Y1S. And we require flow from this 11, 12, 13. That is velocity of the mass. But we are sensing the position. So this is velocity. To sense the position, I will integrate it. 1 by S. This will be Y2S. So in Y2S, one extra state is there. Because you have an integration, obviously that is one extra state. You can give any initial conditions to that integration. So this is our signal flow graph. So I will reduce this signal flow graph further. It's pretty complex, so I don't want this complex thing. I will reduce it. But before that, I can tell, let's say G1S is equal to Y1S by US will have S to the power Q in denominator. That is the order. And G2S has one extra state, Y2S by US will have S to the power 4 in third. So these are determined by number of states. We say order of transfer function numerator is always of lower order, maybe maximum same as the denominator. So order of the transfer function is determined by number of states in the system. So how many times that 1 by S is appearing? That's it. So in the original system, without this extra 1 by S for displacement measurement, so if you do not measure displacement, if you measure any effort or flow, your transfer function will always be of third order. That means at the denominator, you will have S to the power cube appearing. So there will be 3 eigenvalues for this system. So we will simplify this. So simplification. So first thing that I will simplify is I will remove. First thing is if you have something like x, then y, then this is equal to single gain xy. That's one simplification. What is other simplification? If you have two things, let's say parallel x, y, we can make it equivalent to x plus y. But I have seen people doing x and y, they are making it to x minus y. This is absolutely wrong. You cannot just change the direction and make it minus this thing. It's not a bond graph. It's not power direction. All right? It's a signal already assigned causality. So you cannot change. In fact, this one will be equivalent to if x is forward path. Let's say you have this. Okay, this will be x by 1 minus, because if I have not written plus minus sign here, 1 minus xy. Or this will be if x is forward path. If y is forward path, then we will have y by 1 minus xy by loop rule. We have derived loop rule. So if you have this kind of a thing, you can reduce it by loop rule. We know if you have a causal feedback, G and H, GS and HS, the resulting transfer function is GS by 1 plus GS HS, if it is a causal form. So you can make this reduction. Two parallel things, absolutely parallel, we will make them addition. So if we apply these things, at all cases, remember, no forward path should be removed. Or output node should be removed. You should not remove any forward path. Forward path must remain. So what is that forward path? Forward path is how to go from this US to YS. How to go from this US to YS? We have to go through E1, E2, F1, 2, 3, E4, E5, F4, 5, 6. All right? So if required, we can remove the path from this F4, E3 to E2. This path is not in forward path. So you may reduce that. But the path from E2 to F4 through these intermediate things should not be removed. The path should be kept. So we will just reassign this. If you see there is a twist here, there is a crossing here, I will try to avoid that crossing. I will try to avoid that crossing and redraw this picture. So I get direct connection from E1 to E4. So I have connection from E1 to E4. My gain is mu m by RA. E1 to E4, mu m by RA. So E1, I am not putting those nodes unnecessarily. E1 to E4. Are you able to see when I am installing?
Yes, sir.
Ayush? Ayush?
Yes, sir.
Ayush?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
Is there a lot of delay or it's okay?
It's okay. I am seeing no delay.
Okay. So we have directly connected E1 to E4. Sorry. E1 cannot be connected to E4. There is E2. So E2 should be connected to E4 by gain mu m by RA. And we can connect F4 to E2 by gain mu minus mu m. So that intermediate E3 is useless. We can remove that. So F4 to E2 will connect by minus mu m. US will be directly connected to E2. So this is not E1, this is E2. US will be connected to E2 and F4. What is that? F4. I will just change this little bit. E2 to E4. RA. Then we saw from F456 to E2, F456 to E2, it is minus mu m. Okay, so F456, E3 we removed, multiplied with minus 1, mu m into minus 1, it becomes E2. Then E4 also was not required, we require E5. So E4 we will remove, I will convert that to E5. E5 we cannot remove because there are, you see, two signals coming to E5. So I cannot remove that E5. E4 has only two signals, one in, one out, I can remove it. But when something has more than two, two inputs, then I cannot remove it. So I will keep E5 from E5 to F456. There is 1 by JDS. I will connect 1 by JDS. E5 to F456. So this is not 4. This is E5. 1 by S. Then we have that gyrator. Gyrator is gone, done. Yes, there was a twisting overlap. That twisting is also omitted by changing, bringing that E2 downwards. Now you look at this R. F456 goes through F7 to F8. This F7 has only two nodes, it's useless. So I will directly connect F456 to F8, 9, 10 by R. And I will connect E7, 8, 11 to E5 by gain minus R. So E7, 8, 11, E7, 8, 11 to E5 by minus R, F456 to F8, 9, 10 by plus R. So I have E7, 8, 11. In this direction minus R, this direction plus R, this was F 9, 10, 11.
So it was 8, 9, 10, I guess.
I will check. E7, 8, 11, F9, 10, 11. No, both cannot be. No, I don't remember. Let's check. E7, 8, 11, F8, 9, 10. Oh, F8, 9, 10. F8, 9, 10. E7, 8, 11, F8, 9, 10. Eight is common between them. Okay. So now from F8, 9, 10 to E7, 8, 11, there are two branches which are parallel. One is K by S going through E9. One is with gain R going through E10. So we'll remove those E9, E10 first. So we have direct connection from F8, 9, 10 to E7, 8, 11 in two parts, K by S and R gains. These two are parallel in same direction. So what we will do, we will just add those gains. So my new gain will be K by S plus R. K by S plus R, which I can simplify to K plus RS by S. So I will directly connect F8, 9, 10 to E7, 8, 11 by again K plus RS by S. Is to this K plus RS by S. In the next step, what else we have? This E13, MGS, all those are useless. Those are not required. So I can remove them. Those are constants. I have a connection from E7, 8, 11 through E12 after removing this constant part. E7, 8, 11 to F11, 12, 13 to F11, 12, 13 with again 1 by MS. With again 1 by MS. And then we have again -1. Output is 1 by S. So what is that? F11, 12, 13. So we have somewhere F11, 12, 13. This is 1 by MS. This is -1. This is output 1 by S. There was another output. This is Y1S. That is Y2S. S. So this is our simplified model. So is this simplification clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is our signal flow graph from which we will derive transfer function. The first step that we have to do is identify loops in the model. Okay. Let's say loops are denoted by L1, L2, ... Okay. So loop, not loop, loop gains. So what do you find loops in this? Do you see something, some signal starting from somewhere and coming back to itself? There are. There are a lot of loops. You see this? This is a loop. Is that a loop? That's a loop. I call it, let's say, L1. There is a loop. I call it L2. Here there is a loop. L3. Do you find this? L1, L2, L3?
Yes, sir.
So this is important to know these loops because in the original model without simplification, there were more loops. First of all, there is a loop, original model. You see there is a loop here. And there is another loop going through this. So two loop, there is a loop here. It's like a 8 shape. And of course, there is a loop here. There is one loop, there is here, here, here. So original model had 4 loops. It was not very evident how to calculating this, finding these loops is sometimes difficult, and many people miss this 8-like loop. They simply miss it. So they overlook and miss that 8-like loop. So what we did, we straightened up our model so that that 8-like loop is clearly visible. We merged that K by S and R two loops by a single gain so that I don't have 2 loops, I have 1 loop there. Alright? So this simplification is very important. Otherwise, when you derive your transfer function, it might become little bit cumbersome. Okay, algebra might become cumbersome and you might miss some loops. So we have these 3 loops. I will write down these loop gains. L1. What are these loop gains? You will just multiply everything in that loop. Everything. So you have first item mu m by RA, that is multiplied by 1 by ZES. So you will write like this, mu m by RA into 1 by ZES into minus mu m. That's it. So how much it comes? Minus mu m square by RA ZES. So that's how loop gain is written. So we'll write down the other 2 loop gains. So how much it is coming? Always you will see these transformers and generators, they will be square. You will never have them on square in these loops. In loop gains, if generator modulus is there, it will be square. Transformer modulus is there, it will be square. If it's not getting squared, then there is a problem. So you will have R square, then K plus R raise divided by 1 by ZES is there and here S. So ZES square with a minus sign, minus R here. And L3 is equal to minus, this is K plus RS by MS square. So is it clear how these loop gains are calculated? So we have these loop gains. One thing I will tell you, that for a stable system, all loop gains must be negative. everything appears with minus sign. If you do not get minus sign, something is wrong. So what are two key parts? All transformer modulus will be squared in loop gain. All gyrator modulus will be squared in loop gain. All loop gains will be negative. For any normal stable system, that normal there is no reason for the system to be unstable without feedback. Right? So for any stable system, these things will be satisfied. So these are called loops. Now we will write something called forward paths. Those are denoted by P1, P2, ... So forward path gains we will write. So there are the forward paths depend on your sensors and sources. So for US to Y1S, how many forward paths are there? That means how many ways you can reach from US to Y1S without going through any node more than once. So no node should be traversed more than once. You cannot say that I have to go to E2 to, let's say, E2 to F4. I will go to E2 to E5, then F4 to F9, then to E7 and go around here 3-4 times and then I will reach F4. So it's not a maze that you are lost in the navigating it. You have to go directly in the shortest path from the input to the output, and you should not go circles around that loop, because in that case you will encounter the same node more than once. So you cannot encounter any node more than once. You have to go from input to the output. So what is forward for US to US Y1S? We will go US to E2 to E5 to F4 to Y1S. That's the forward path. Is there another forward path? No, only one path. Only one path. So P1 only. We don't have no P2, no P2, P2, etc. No P2, P3. All right, only one path you have. So what is that gain? This is mu m by RA and 1 by ZDS. So mu m by RA ZDS. So for this is P1 is equal to mu m by RA ZDS. So that is the forward path. This is for US to Y1S. For US to Y2S, again you have one path, US to E2 to E5 to F4. We will find how it goes. So it goes to F4, then F4 to, you cannot go opposite to the arrow. You have to traverse in the direction of the arrow. So F4 to F8, F8 to E7. You cannot go from E7 to E5. You will go from E7 to F11, then to Y2. Okay? So F4 to F8, E7, F11. F8, E7, F11. And then 2Y2S. So that is only one path. One path. So we will have P1. How much? Mu M obviously will come. RAZD will come. Obviously, they are already there. Up to F4, those things have already come. 1S is already there. Then see rest of the things. So we will have R, then K plus RS in the numerator, R into K plus RS, M will come in the denominator, and 1 by S, 1 by S, 1 by S, 1 by S. S to the power 4 will come in the denominator. So M and S to the power 4 will come in the denominator, R into K plus RS will come in the numerator. M R K plus RS. Here M will come, S to the power 4 will come. Okay, these are the forward paths. Now I will write something very important. It's called graph determinant.
Sir, what happens if there are like more than one path without loops?
Yes, what happens?
So what happens if there are more than one paths without loops?
There can be more than one path. No problem. No
So
problem.
in that
You will write P1, P2, P3 like that.
Okay.
Okay. So there can be more than one path. If you are not reduced this model, kept this original model, then you would have got one path after R. R, you have got one path F8 to E7 to E12 to F11. The other path again, the common paths up to F8. After F8, you have E10, E7, E12, and this. So two paths you would have got. But because we have merged, we are getting one path.
Sir, is there any relation between the path gains if there are multiple paths?
Relation between?
If there are multiple paths, is there any relation between the path gains? Like, do they have to be equal or?
No. There is no relation. They can be equal only up to the common part.
Okay.
All right. After that, it can branch out. So this graph determinant is defined as delta is equal to 1 minus sum of loop gains. I is equal to 1 to whatever number of loops plus sum of there are two terms, so I will not write I here. Ij over Ij. I comma j. Li Lj minus sigma Li Lj Lk Ij k plus dot where Li are loop gains, Li Lj are product of non-touching loop gains. Li, Lj, Lk again are products of non-touching loop gains and so on. So non-touching loops, that's very important. Non-touching loops. All right. So what is delta for this graph? For our graph? Let's go to our graph. Do you see our signal flow graph? So we have L1, L2, L3, 3 loops. In this, if we have to take Li, Lj, product of 2 non-touching loops, then we have L1 and L3 are not touching. L1 and L3 do not have any common nodes between them. So L1 and L3 are non-touching. L1, L2 are touching each other. L2, L3 are touching each other. So only product of 2 non-touching loops is L1 and L3. We have only 3 loops, so we do not have product of 3 non-touching loops. But you will get product of 3 non-touching loops when you have at least 5 loops. If you have at least 5 loops, then you will get product of 3 non-touching loops. Otherwise, you will not get it. Okay. So we have here product of 2 non-touching loops. Another thing you can note from the signal flow graph is the orientation of these loops. When L1 goes clockwise, L2 goes anti-clockwise, L3 goes clockwise, L4 if it comes. If L4, L5, those things come, L4 will go clockwise, L5 will go anti-clockwise, and so on. So if there is a common branch between 2 loops, for example, between L1 and L2, the common branch is 1 by ZES. So this 1 by ZES will be traversed 1 times clockwise by one of the loops, the other times it will be traversed anti-clockwise by the other loop. Similarly, K plus RS by S is a common branch. It will be traversed in opposite direction in 2 adjacent loops. So we have 3 loops, L1, L2, L3, and 2 non-touching loops, L1 plus L3. So
Sir,
I will write.
One node is enough to, one common node is enough to call them touching loops.
What happened?
One node is enough to call them touching loops.
Yes. If one node is shared, then it's enough to tell them they are touching. Okay. So I will, okay, let me write down in paper because I will report to this. All right. So I have my graph determinant here. Delta is equal to 1 minus all those loop gains. L1 is minus mu m square by RAZDS. L2 is minus R square K plus RS by ZDS square. And that one is minus K plus RS by MS square. Then plus product of this and this, minus minus will cancel out. So mu m square into K plus RS by ZD MS square, MS cube. So this is our graph determinant. Note that in this determinant, all terms are positive because each loop gain is negative. So when you take one minus sum of loop gains are themselves negative. So their product, when you take minus sign, they become positive. Product of 2 loop gains, both of them are negative, their product is positive. Then minus product of 3 loop gains. So if 3 loop gains are negative, then their product is negative, and we have a minus sign, it becomes positive. So every term in graph determinant will become positive if you have a stable system. That's why it's necessary that all loop gains are negative. So this is the graph determinant. Now I will write the transfer function. This is called Mason's gain rule. So we will apply Mason's gain rule. This rule is like this. The transfer function Gs is equal to sigma pi delta I, this is delta, by delta. This is the transfer function. So forward path gains into delta I by this, where delta I is determinant of the graph after removing nodes and paths in Pi. Like we calculate, let's say, normal determinant cofactor, we remove the row and column on which that particular element is there. Similarly, here, whenever we are considering a path, delta is calculated from the rest of the graph after removing the forward path. And delta is constant. Delta is not dependent on forward path, or delta is not dependent on where your sensors are there, where your inputs are there. Delta is a property of the system. Right. So this is how the transfer function will be calculated. So let me quickly find the transfer function for first case. So G1s is Y1s by US. For that P1 I will bring how much it is, delta 1 I will write. So P1 is straightforward. Let me go back, mu m by RAZDS. That is up to angular velocity of the disk. So P1 is this. Now go back to your graph. Do you see the signal flow graph? So the forward path here for the first transfer function is, we are going from here like this, like this, like this, like this. This is the forward path. So we remove everything associated with that. So what will remain then? Every node and everything connected to those nodes. So after removing path EUS to Y1S, what will we get? We will get this E7, F8, and F11, and this. So we will get 1 by ms minus 1 K plus RS by S. Rest of the things are gone. Okay. When those nodes are gone, anything connected to those nodes are gone. So we will have this. What is determinant of this one? This is my L3. So I will, after removing this, I will get this. So I will get delta for this. delta is basically 1 plus, it's 1 minus L3. Okay, that is 1 minus L3. That is 1 plus K plus RS by MS square, or 1 minus L3. So that is delta for this graph. So we remove everything in the forward path while going from US to Y1S, the remaining parts determinant. That is what is called the delta of the part removing the forward path. So it is 1 plus K plus RS by MS square. So this is 1 plus K plus RS by MS square, which we can simplify. MS square plus RS plus K by MS square. So we write our transfer function straightforward. So G1S is equal to mu m by RAJD. RAJD, we have to multiply this. So M S cube, this is MS square plus RS plus K. This divided by delta. Delta is the remaining terms. So we will simplify that. Highest order is RAJD MS cube. So that also we will put. Cube, and here it will come RAJD MS cube. Then this is RAJD S. So MS square is left. So plus mu m square m s square, and this will be plus r square into K plus RS. And what is left out there? JD square is gone. So RAMS plus this is K plus RS by MS square. So RAJD S is left. S into K plus RS. This, and then the last term you will get mu m square into K plus RS. How to write? So that will come. So this is the whole thing. We will finally, this RAJD MS cube will cancel out from top and bottom. So we will get a simplified formula, mu m s square plus mu m r s plus k divided by. When we write this transfer function, we will combine all terms of a particular order, that is cubic terms. So what we have? RAJD MS cube, then square terms mu m square m, then you have r square k RA m, mr square k RA plus mr square m RA r square r, that will be a square, then RAJD r, that will be a square, That will be a square and nothing else. So this much a square plus coefficient of s. We have r square k RAM. That is s. Then here we have RAZDK. And there we will have mu square, mu m square r. S plus constant is mu m square k. So this is the transfer function of our system. Quite complex? Is the procedure understood?
Yes, sir.
This one is more complex. The transfer function up to y2 is easy. Transfer function up to y2 is easy. Denominator will be same. G2s is equal to y2s by us. Here, okay, you see for this one, P1 is a big one. P1 is a big one, no problem with that. Okay. P1 I will write mu m r. What is my cursor? Oh. R k plus rs divided by MA RAZD s to the power 4. Not MA, M. But delta 1, interestingly, is very easy for this one. If you traverse path from US to Y2S, you find all nodes are covered. You have gone up to this, US to U2S, US you go like this, then you go like this, then you go like this, you go like this, then you go like this, and go like this. So if you remove these, nothing is left. Entire graph vanishes. So if you remove this forward path, entire graph vanishes. So this graph, okay, if nothing is there, its delta becomes, there are no loops, delta is 1. So delta 1 corresponding to path 1 becomes 1. Right. So it's very easy. So delta 1 for this case is 1. Entire graph vanished. So our transfer function is easy. It's the same thing. So what you have, that is equal to P1 into 1 by delta. So top numerator will remain as it is. Mu m r into s plus mu m r k. From there, MAZD RS fourth is there. That same thing appears here. So one extra S is there. I will adjust that S into rest of the things as it is. Dot, dot, dot. So the denominator is same. Denominator is same. One extra S has come because of our integration. So this is mu m r rs plus mu m r k by RA ZD MS cube S into plus mu m square m plus dot 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 s square plus dot 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 s plus mu m square K. This whole thing is this. So if up to velocity, if you take, denominator is same, because we have taken one extra integration, 1 by s comes for our position. So what is important here? Denominator of transfer function doesn't depend on input and output. Up to effort or flow, excluding that extra integration, does not depend on inputs and outputs. It is a property of the system. The system. Numerator changes with inputs and outputs. Okay, is that clear? Denominator will not change. Numerator will change. So this forward path P1 will change. P1, P2 maybe. Right. The delta corresponding to that P removal of P1 will change, but delta of the graph will not change. Delta of the graph is same for all inputs and all outputs. So that is all for today. So if you have any questions, you can ask. It's very difficult to teach this in this one notes. Going up and down is big problem. In a blackboard, it's very easy. You can refer to this graph. So are there any doubts here? I will stop this recording.